Basically, you can sum it up this way: multiculturalism for the Christian beliefs they want to overwhelm and destroy, but strict adherence to the beliefs that they want to have fill the vacuum left behind by a receding Christianity. This is why the left hates the resurgence of Christian nationalism, because they thought they had killed our fighting spirit by deracinating our churches and our ability to openly profess our faith in a way that doesn't conflict with secular materialism. But Christianity is the faith that defeated the Muslims and the pagan hordes of yesteryear. I think we can handle a few blue-haired weirdos of today. Our first guest tonight has the honorable distinction of being one of the Christian nationalists singled out in this Politico hit piece we've been covering. So without further ado, joining us now to discuss is William Wolfe, a former senior official for the Trump administration. William, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me back on.
Great. So what does Politico get most wrong about Christian nationalism in this piece?
Well, look, I want to talk about two things. One is hypocritical journalism, and the second is just the increasing attacks on conservative evangelical Christians in America. I'd say the worst part about the piece is that it's just a total hack job. It's not serious journalism. They took a couple of my tweets, some statements by Russell Vogt, and they threw it into the regime blender, and out popped what's supposed to be this scary article, talking about how the next Trump administration is going to have Christian nationalism. And what's that quote unquote scary Christian nationalism? It's belief in natural law. It's the belief that marriage is between a man and a woman. It's the idea that we shouldn't slaughter the unborn in the womb. And this was incredible. The idea that I suggested that men should provide for their offspring is somehow now Christian nationalism. And so it's a total joke of a piece. But what it shows us is that the secular regime is so scared of and so anti-Christian in America today. It should be a real wake-up call for so many Christians in our country. This is what we're dealing with. They don't even understand who we are anymore. We're like aliens to them.
We are, and that is really scary, and that's why I was pointing out at the beginning that they are admitting they're at war with reality, with God's created order, because they're saying natural law, what's that? That's just some belief that some Christians have, as if it's not the governing structure of the universe in which we live in, if it's not the fabric of reality. And also, like you were saying a moment ago, I have part of the quote here from Politico, when you say that maybe men should provide for their children as soon as they can determine it's theirs, part of a healthy society. And the way they put it is that's a clear incursion by the government into Americans' private lives. It's just so insane. You're exactly right. By trying to combat you in just normal truth, they twist themselves into these very strange pretzels. But as you mentioned with Russ Vought, he now leads the Center for Renewing America. He was the former OMB director under President Trump. What they're very afraid of is that you, William, and also Vought have President Trump's ear. And is that what they're really trying to do, is trying to hamper a second term by President Trump?
Yeah, well, I think what the left is doing, and as we've seen with the completely politicized lawfare against Donald Trump and his associates, is they're pulling out all the stops to make sure that our 45th president won't be our 47th president. There's nobody else that the Beltway elites and the regime and the ruling class in America fears more than Donald Trump. And so they're trying to make him sound as scary and unpalatable as possible. And of course, they don't support his policies. And like you said, they're at war with God, at war with reality. And Donald Trump, whatever his own personal beliefs may or may not be, Donald Trump is a champion for evangelical Christians in America. He wants to protect our ability to worship freely, and not just worship, but live our lives according to our deeply held and biblical beliefs. He appointed pro-life justices that helped overturn Roe v. Wade. He wants to root out critical race theory and other Marxist ideologies that have embedded themselves into our federal bureaucracy. And so he's a threat to them, but he also wants to defend Christians. And that's why they're coming after him and using me and people like Russ Vought to get to him. Again, it's just such a laughable hit job. I watched Alex Ward, one of the journalists, on a CBS interview, and it's clear that the guy just has no idea what Christians even believe, and so they would be better off covering, other issues here instead of looking, quite frankly, like fools when they address this topic.